Hi everyone, and welcome to the next video where we'll be talking about our packages and also how we'll actually be able to write our own. We'll start with this video where I just give like a brief introduction to packages, their anatomy, and some of the most important functions throughout them to build them. And throughout this session and also in the practical session, you'll learn everything necessary to build your own R package, which will kind of end this whole session with. So let me dive right in. So first we'll talk about the anatomy of an R package, which is basically if you generate an R package or look at any R package in particular, you notice that they always have roughly the same anatomy in the end. So it's really just a special kind of project or folder structure with certain files that are in there, and that's all you need to have an R package. So it's really, it might seem like a daunting premise or task, but if you look at it in detail and break it down, it's really not too bad. At the end, every one of us or every one of you will have written an R package at the end of the course. So that's actually also quite cool. After having used all these packages that are out there, they also all follow this one single anatomy basically. So if we look at the basic anatomy, and this is just the skeleton that's basically generated if you generate an R package in RStudio. We'll do this in the practical session together. It's just a more convenient way of getting the structure and having some default contents in there. So first and most important, there's the R folder, and this contains all your R code. So this is the main part of the package, the actual functions and everything that you wrote, and all the functionality. Then there's one description file in all caps, and this contains all the package information and the kind of metadata. So it describes what the package is. It has a short two-liner, what the package is called and what it does, for in a human readable form. It has some information on who wrote it, and we'll look in more detail a bit later. Then there's the R build ignore. It's just similar to the git ignore as we talked about before, that contains information on which files git should ignore. The R build ignore has information on which files R should ignore when using this directory to build your package in the end. So this is just some files that are ignored by R when building a package. And the format is very similar to a git ignore actually, so it's nice. Then we have the man folder, which is short for manual. And this has all the documentation for your package. So this is auto-generated usually, as we've talked about in the previous videos, or especially in the in-person session. This is automatically generated by Roxygen. So you don't have to write anything here yourself. You just annotate the functions correctly in your R file, and then by a Devtools document, this will all be generated. Similar to the namespace file, this is also generated, also via Roxygen, and this just has a list of all the functions that your package should make publicly available when it's loaded. So if you think about, for example, dplyr, which we use a lot, this is where it's just basically all the lists, all the functions that should be exported. So for something like select, mutate, all these functions that your package makes available, they're just listed in there. And everything that's not listed in there is kind of private to your package and not easily available when loading your package. And lastly, there's automatically generated in RStudio at least an RStudio project. This is optional actually, so this is not part of the package itself. It's just usually, almost everyone works with RStudio when working with R, so having the RStudio project in there, it just makes sense, but not necessarily part of an R package by itself. So besides your R code that you wrote yourself, the most important part of this R package is really this description file, and we'll also look at this in a bit more detail on the next slide. So here you see an example description file, which is largely auto-generated from RStudio. And first we have the name of the package, then that it is an R package. I think there's not really any other type, so this is all auto-generated. You don't need to worry about this too much. Then the title, this you need to write, and this is just a short summary of what the package actually does. And it's in title case usually, so like every major letter is like capitalized, as you see here. Only like these smaller letters like the or something are not. Then the package version. This is of course important, and whenever you have like a new version of your package, you need to increment this. This follows the semantic versioning schema, where like if you have any breaking changes in your package, you increment this first number. For any smaller releases, you increment the second, and then for anything in between, and like fixes and stuff, you increment the last one. It's called semantic versioning. You can read up and like properly at the, if you just Google it. Then the authors of your R package, and this is kind of like a bit of an odd format, but this is like actually R code. And it's just like this format that specifies what person is, and like it just has like a structured format for that data. So you have like the first and last name, you have the email address, and the role. So AUT here stands for author, and CRE is for it's that you're like the main, I can't place the abbreviation right now, but it basically means that you're the main, that this is the main person to contact about this package. So there always needs to be one person that needs to like be the single point of contact, basically corresponding. So this is the corresponding author, that's the word. Then also maintainer, which is again just the name of the main person working on the package. And the description, of course, is important. So it's basically typically about 2 lines and like 1 or 2 sentences describing what your package does in a bit more detail. License is just under which license it is made available. Usually you need it to be like some open source license, so you can just go with like a very permissive, like something like MIT license or something. We will not focus about this because it's a bit like, you can read up on it, which licenses there are, what they kind of entail, but of course it's not the focus of this course. And the rest you can also keep kind of the same, like encoding and lazy data. Encoding is just how the text is encoded in the package, and you always want to go with UTF-8 here. And lazy data is kind of how data is loaded in this package, and usually it's also fine to have lazy data too. What's interesting is the imports part. So this is actually quite an important section. And this is all the packages that your package again uses. And also if the packages are listed here under imports, it means that they're like imported by the package. So if you also install your package, it will install all these packages listed here. So this is actually really like an important part of your package, and you might need to change this, like, so just that all the packages you use are like properly referenced here. So if you have all this package structure that I listed here, you're basically all there, but you also need to do some things to like install and update your package, and this is where Devtools comes in. So you already used, not anymore. It used to be that like all this installation from GitHub was done via Devtools. It now was moved into its own package with remotes. But Devtools is the #1 package you use when working on your own package and like trying to build it or update data in it. And many of the functionalities are basically exposed by Devtools in a very like convenient way. This can also be done by other means, but it's much more complicated, and Devtools is just the way to go here. So first and foremost, with Devtools load all, you basically simulate installing the package on your machine, which is actually really nice. Like you just run this function in the directory if you're like working your package, and it basically installs your package, which is really, really cool. It already makes all the functions available, so it's perfect for like testing and everything. Then there's Devtools document, which will regenerate all the files in the man directory for the manual and in the namespace file. So this is to just update all your things. Whenever you make any changes to the documentation around functions in your Oxygen comments, you will have to rerun this, and it's going to just automatically update those files, which is really nice. And Devtools install is similar to load all, but it's a bit more restrictive, and it just simulates a normal installation of the package on your machine. So it's the differences are like small, but usually during development, load all is a bit nicer to make everything available. And with Devtools install, It's just gonna it's gonna be a bit more closer to like how your package will be available if someone actually installs it from the internet. Yeah, and lastly, some information on the graphics, and I'll see you in the next video.